Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project. Tuesday, January 30th, 11:09 p.m. Mountain Time. Super blue blood moon edition of the Grand Solar Minimum Update. Let's get to it. Here's the total lunar eclipse, the super blue moon that will happen with the total lunar eclipse, the super blue blood moon, happening just hours from now. Rare astronomical event will take place just hours from now, the third in a series of supermoons, the second full moon of the month, known as the blue moon, and a total lunar eclipse, which will make the moon take on a reddish tint, known as the blood moon. I'll leave you links to this article here from the Watchers, where the total lunar eclipse visibility chart is easily found. I'm over here between U3 and U4, so I'll be going outside at Mountain Standard Time at 7 a.m. to check out, well, probably I'll be out at 5 a.m. to watch it start up. And you can use that chart accordingly. All of Europe is blanked, Eastern Africa, South America, etc. If you're over here in India, China, Australia, New Zealand, you got a bomb view, and that's a heads up. Let's talk about the cold. That's what this channel is all about. So let me just erase this so we can move on quickly. Erie inching closer to the record ever recorded in snowfall, which they're easily going to shatter. There is 5 to 15 inches forecast over the next 10 days, and they just need a few more inches. Denise Cavendish, 43, blows 6 inches of snow off the driveway of her Franklin Township home on Tuesday. We don't want that. Guys, Erie's 143.3 seasonal snowfall currently ranks as its third snowiest winter. The 2.3 inches of snow recorded Tuesday at Erie International Airport inches it even closer, just 5 inches from the record, which they will break, according to our prediction here at the channel. Heads up, Erie. Congratulations on breaking your record in 6 days. Madison, Wisconsin, frigid weather, double dose is heading towards Wisconsin. The first wave starting Thursday and the second on Sunday, with overnight lows possibly dropping below freezing and staying there for a very long time. This is just a near forecast. If we go out towards the first week of February, Madison's going to be colder and colder. This wave of up and down is going to keep going down like the Grand Solar Minimum graphs. Heads up, Milwaukee. You're about to chill out. As winter storm leaves, bitter cold returns to Manitoba. Look at this scene. Strong and strong winds give way to extreme cold. And we're not just talking barely cold. We're talking minus 50 in regions like Tadui Lake on Wednesday morning. That is a frozen cat cold. So bring your cats in. Let's visit our friend Albedo and see what's going on. North of 30 degrees on the other side of the globe is all snow. And I would check out the ice approaching Japan. It is now entering the Sea of Japan. These little yellow dots here. So we're going to be watching this. If ice enters the Sea of Japan, oh my goodness, that would be the first boom of the day. Is it up? Oh, it's exciting. It's worth it. Boom. So that's a heads up to the Sea of Japan having ice infiltrating it. And real quick, let's talk about why there's very little ice in this area. There is a prevailing wind that's been happening all winter here. As the polar vortex is dipping down in here, it's a pervasive northerly flow here. It's pushing the ice up in the Arctic, and it's causing ice to stack up here in the Arctic region, which is thickening the ice to levels that haven't been seen for several decades. We're going to do a video covering it. If you guys know about Tony Heller, he just posted one, and an excellent video showing how thick the multi-year ice is building here. It's over 3 meters in most of the section here right on the North Pole, which it hasn't been for decades. So thank you, Al, for providing us with that insight. Oh, what did I just erase? It's probably important. Let's get to it. Britain, you're about to blow up. The Met Office just said so. Cold as ice in the UK. Where was it? UK weather to bring 2 inches of snow and ice to some parts of the country as -2 C Arctic blast grips Britain. Forecasters are warning of ice on untreated surfaces and blah, blah, blah. They always blow it out of proportion, guys. Get some salt, put it on the ground, and that's a boom. Scotland, heads up. You're right next door. There's a weather warning as the Met Office says snow and ice will batter your country again. Can you imagine that in winter? Being battered by snow and ice? Phew, how dare they? China on blue alert as cold wave hits central and eastern China. Might be because of that ice coming into the Sea of Japan. Who knows? Aerial photo taken just moments ago shows snowy scenery in Shangtang village in Changxing of East China's Zhejiang. Just now. And that's all they're going to show us. A bunch of cold pictures as they're on blue alert. And that's a heads up. First snow in 50 years hits southern Morocco. Exceptional snowfall paralyzes the country. There it is on the map. They're not lying. The whole center of Morocco here covered in snow. That was a triple pop boom. Heads up, Morocco. It's a lot of sequins. Exceptional snowfall paralyzes the country. Look at the palm trees here. I don't think they're going to do too well in this. Hello. Following unprecedented road conditions across Morocco on January 20th when 5,000 kilometers of roads were closed due to what authorities described as exceptional snowfall. Heavy snow arrived in the country's southern region again 9 days later. This is the first time in 50 years snow has fallen on these palm trees. Florida, heads up. To address the unprecedented road conditions earlier this month, the Moroccan Ministry of Equipment, Transport, and Logistics mobilized 117 snow plows. I don't think they have any plows in the south down here. So good luck with getting through there. But it'll probably melt out in a day. It's the desert. Frost covers Malsun Mountain due to cold. The peak of Malsun Mountain is the northern province of Langsun and has been covered in frost since Monday, which they are not used to, but they are learning how to be warmed by a fire in clusters. 4 to 7 degrees Celsius in the mountainous provinces and below 3 degrees Celsius in the high mountain areas. Extreme weather is predicted to last until February 5th. Frost is likely to appear in several high mountainous areas. Not good for the crops that they're growing there. This brings us over to a volcanic alert over at Bardabunga. So there's been several quakes over in the Iceland area. Here it's a 4.9 according to the U.S. downgrade service. The U.S. downgrade service bringing in a 4.9. And over here, they have it at 5.0 at least. But you should take a note here. In the last 36 hours, the uptick in events. Boom. Another cluster, boom, a bigger cluster, boom, and then a bigger cluster, boom. So we'll be looking for a bigger cluster after this, or what we've seen is some activity resulting in caldera collapse here. But Iceland could be the big one. There's so many options. I'll leave you links to all of these things. There's a moderate uptick in seismic activity globally. Here we have a 4.5 north of Greenland, 197 kilometers way up in the Arctic Circle. That I had to blow up the map in that weird way just to find it. Here's the uptick in seismic activity in the Iceland volcanoes. We also have ADAC, a volcano on the Aleutians here, kicking off a 5.0 today. 5.0 in Shinsuzai, Japan. Down here, not looking good. This is real close to Agung. Sanggang, Indonesia, 5.3. We have another moderate quake here in Papua New Guinea, where all the volcanoes are about to blow. 5.3 over in Peru. Pretty standard rumbling there. We have this interesting quake, cluster of quakes in Central California, which I'm sure is rattling some nerves. 3.3 in Coalinga. That sounds dirty. Stovepipe Wells, 3.1. Nothing of note that's really raising an eyebrow. Japan raises warning levels, however, on volcano clusters that we reported on last night. Sal, in particular, as well as the volcano 11 days ago that caused the death of a soldier who was shielding a human. Now, Japan has raised the warning level on a cluster of volcanoes in the north of the country just a week after an eruption of Katsu Shirane-san caused an avalanche, killing the soldier and injuring a dozen skiers at the winter resort. Japan's meteorological agency has raised the alert in the entire Zhao range. There are many volcanic options in the range, from 2 to 1, which is reverse of everywhere else in the world, meaning that tourists may think it's safer and go get blown up again. But actually, it means they should stay away from its crater, because things like this happen when you get near it, and that's a boom. Guys, stay away from the crater in Japan. No more skiing, and that's a heads up. Phivolcs, investigating the change in eruption appearance in Mayon, look at how interested they are in what's going on here. This guy is about to fall asleep. Maybe that baby needs a blow. According to the Philippine Institute of Volcanology, Phivolcs here, Mayon is still showing bulging on the flanks here, as well as this central bulge here, smoking. And then even after dozens of lava fountaining and eruptive events causing huge lava flows down the side of the mountain, the volcano is remaining the same shape. Now, what does that mean? Well, according to Borneas, Mayon volcano activity will not change. The eruption will take several weeks to a month to occur. He has no idea what he's talking about. He's just going, rah, 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 rah. But Egg Langarita, Phivolcs resident volcanologist, chief in Bicol, said the inflation of Mayon's edifice is sustained despite of ejected materials from previous eruptions, which isn't totally English, but we can all understand what he's saying here, meaning the magma is continuously recharging. So this volcano is going nowhere but up and up as we watch it occur. And that's a heads up, according to that guy. Coming over to the multi-view here at UKZ, one of our awesome partners in the Grand Solar Minimum forecasting here, we could see Popo erupting currently live. This is the outline of Agung, which was smoking earlier. Here, down here, we see Sinabung in an eruptive event currently. Mayon looks like it's gone a little quiet, but Sakajurima here, a little bit of volcanic ash emission, as well as at Stromboli. So everybody's moving. Guys, come over to UKZ, give us a support, subscribe, say hello. Just like I'm about to do here. Hello. We're live. And that's a boom. So all these links will be down the bottom right of the screen here. Underneath of Oppenheimer Ranch, it says show more in caps in gray. Click on it. Worldwide volcano news update. Reventador is going off. We just looked at a bunch of them live. Popo, Tucono, Mayon, Sinabung, Sabancayo, Ibicu. The links will be at Worldwide Volcano News. Let's talk about solarham.net. Showing a new sunspot. Boom. I'll show you how to look at that. So the seismic uptick is because of the KP index. So we'll come over here and we'll look at it. We'll notice we've been at 0. We've all been psychic during this whole video. And we'll be psychic throughout the super blue blood moon. Oh my God. It's all lining up. I love it when a plan comes together. Remember the A-Team? That show was awesome. So is Albedo. Back to Solar Ham. We're at KP0 for 9 of the last 18 to more hours. So check that out. Now that causes lithospheric relax and release of energy, which is why we're seeing that moderate uptick. but we've been spotless on the sun for 9 days, as it says right here. The sun has now been void of Earth-facing spots for 9 days in a row, which is not shocking, and we'll get to the data. But there's a new spot that has emerged. If you want to look at the spots, guys, you come click on it. It's 2697 is the area. This is the new sunspot region that has just been numbered. If you click on it, it will give you an enlarged picture of the intensity, the magnetogram, A1A 171 angstrom at the bottom, and the composite. So you can look at it. You could diagnose it yourself and see that there's very little magnetic mixing, good separation between positive and negative, which puts it in the beta class. So this is beta. If we were looking at the increase, we would be looking at magnetic mixing, where blue's in the red and red's in the blue. And that would kick it up a notch. Right now, C flare percent 10, M flare 1, X flare 1. And this baby has kicked off some light flares. So this spot has been active. The way you check that is you go to the X-ray flux, which is here, X-rays. Just hit it. One click, and it blows it up. You can see there's been no activity for the last few hours in the 1 minute data. But if we come to the 5 minute data, you can see that that sunspot's been kicking off some B flares. We have a B1, 2 little A flares. So there is some life in that little beta class solar flare. So after 9 days of spotless sun, a tiny sunspot is on the sun, and it's kicking off little solar flares. So that's how you use solar ham, and that's a heads up. We went 9 days spotless, but let's go to the predicted sunspot number radio flux progression as far out as they will give it to us at NOAA. One thing I want you to learn from this little science section is that the length of solar cycles is not all 10 or 11 years. When you get to smaller cycles that are lower in total solar irradiance here, where the TSI is below 3, let's say 1361, as in solar cycle 14, the length of the solar cycle increases. Look at the width of solar cycle 14. From minimum to minimum, it's 13 years. Same with solar cycle 13, almost 14 years long. So the prediction here at the channel for solar cycle 24 is around 12 years. Now the last minimum was exactly at the January 1st of 2010, let's say. So this puts out the minimum all the way to 2022 or 23 before it starts going up into cycle 25. So we think we still have at least 3 more years of 0 sunspots and a drop off in TSI before there may even be any activity into cycle 25, which brings us all the way to 2022. And we have data to support it. And it comes here from the predicted sunspot number radio flux. And if you see the linear progression they've laid out here statistically, monthly, all the way through the end of 2019, December, you can see a decrease in predicted sunspot numbers down to 4.1, each getting less. And there's different variables here. But we have still not bottomed out even at 2020, which would be the flexure point. And I believe this number here, over here on the left, is going to continue to roll out to 2021 before it goes back up in a predictive phase. Which means we have a long time of cooling ahead of us, according to the predicted sunspot numbers. This is coming in live from Snohomish, you know what I'm talking about, Washington. This is from Devin Volnick, who picked this up while I was making the video from his backyard, and he calls it boom hail. And that's a boom to Devin's hail. Thanks for sending in the pic, Devin. Let's look at these nonsense graphs that are in this article sent to me by another subscriber. Watch 800,000 years of climate change in 3 minutes. And he asked me to tear this apart in 3 seconds. And we're going to do it. So what they provide you with here is the wonderful ice core data, which shows you an amazing correlation between temperature and CO2 here. Except for when you get to the modern period here, where the CO2 shoots away from temperature, but temperature remains constant. And down here, I want to bring you to this graph where they're showing you a wonderful correlation between the temperature and the CO2. They match perfectly for 1,000,000 years until you get to today, when the CO2 goes off the chart. But look what the temperature does. It hooks down into the next ice age. I guess they didn't look too hard at this graph. Now, what does that mean? Because in the graph, they claim that CO2 is causing warming. Now, if that were true, while this CO2 goes off the chart, this blue line should follow right after it. And the day that these two separated, I thought that the whole world would end the nonsense with global warming. But it never got through to the public. Right here, you're proving that CO2 has nothing to do with temperature right on this graph. In the very article that you fearmonger that it's going to kill us. This graph is BS. Now, what it shows is the temperature and the CO2 going straight up since 1980, let's say. Let's just pick a date here. Straight up. If you come right over to the actual data in fine-tune, we'll take the data from 1970 to 2015. I made this graph because it clearly illustrates that the blue thing, which is CO2, spikes after the red thing, which is temperature, which clearly demonstrates that CO2 follows the temperature graph. It has nothing to do with the temperature, except that it's its little biatch, and it follows it all around until man sends it off the chart. And it has nothing to do with global warming. It's plant food. But even in this high-resolution graph revealed by NOAA, you can see how the CO2 responds to temperature. It follows it. Not the other way around. CO2 follows temperature equals global warming failure. Let's repeat it. CO2 follows temperature according to NOAA and their data, which equals global warming failure. And this is a lie. And let me just show you why. Because they're showing a temperature change from 1980 to present of almost a degree. The satellites don't show that. They show no warming. None. Not since 2005 anyway. They show a cooling trend. And since 2016, the cooling trend is very apparent. It's very apparent. And since 2017, it's extremely apparent. That would be the blue line. Not this line. This line is nothing. It's a made-up graph that's cut and paste and printed everywhere. Because this shows the CO2 following the temperature to a T, which is not the reality. CO2 has gone off the chart and separated away from temperature by a mile, and the temperature is dropping. I don't know if I can keep this up every night. This is coming from Rutgers Snow Lab. It has everything to do with the albedo map. The albedo in the northern hemisphere has been increasing since we've been keeping data, not decreasing. If we were burning up in global warming, the northern hemisphere snow extent would not be increasing. Snow happens when it's cold. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, do so now. Share this with like-minded people. The truth is easy. Solar cycle 24 may not end until 2022. By that time, it may be too late. Crop failures, famine, global unrest are likely to ensue before that time. So you don't have a long time to prepare. The stock market is at all-time highs, and the volatility today should make you to start question if you have enough rice and dried beans in your cupboard currently. Because the moment that shipments stop coming in, everyone's going to go to the store and buy everything. And you don't want to be in that line. If you don't want to be in that line, join us for a radio program where we talk about how to avoid that line. It's coming up on Thursday night. Just 2 days. We'll have rebroadcasts on all of our channels. Ice Age Farmer, the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, David Dubine at Adapt 2030. We're going to be at freedomslips.com on Revolution Radio Studio A for mini Ice Age conversations. Join us, where we talk about the albedo effect, what it means to commodities, the instant delivery system that's going to fail rapidly, the wars that will ensue. This is based on historical data. It's not based on fear-mongering or scaring you for unnecessary purposes. It's because all data is suggesting that it will never be warmer than it was back here on solar cycle 22. Not ever in your lifetime. And that's a heads up. You don't have much time. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance in the areas we're going. This is a reset, folks. Be safe.